Do you remember when you first discovered glitches in Pokemon? I remember when I did. Summer 1999 at Kingswood Summer Club. Pokemon Red and Blue had just been released the previous year, which I guess would make me 8 or 9. The Pokemon craze was in full swing over here in the UK. Every day I packed up my Pikachu yellow Game Boy Color Pokemon Red permanently slotted into the top. My friends and I would gather together with our link cables for epic trading and battling sessions that lasted the whole day. Or just until our parents came to pick us up at home time. Around midsummer, our group was starting to feel like we've seen it all and done it all. Sure, I don't think we'd ever caught them all. Back then it seemed like an impossibility. We had grinded to level 100, eliminated the Elite Four more times than we could remember. The game was starting to lose its draw, and there was still 4 long weeks of summer left. Then, we discovered Missing No. I remember the first kid I knew to have him. He told us his brother showed him how to catch this super rare, super awesome Pokemon. We gathered round as he revealed the Pokemon to us. That magical, distorted, reverse L shape that held the key to infinite rare candies. We were all instantly in love with dying to get one of these rare Pokemon ourselves, so we passed on the secret and showed us how. Within the next few days, our little group was hooked on glitches. We scoured magazines and latest bugs and tricks. We visited Glitch City, battled all kinds of high-level Pokemon off the coast of Cinnabar. We even caught Mew. But there was one glitch which I've never been able to find a record of since. Funnily enough, I can't remember the details on how to pull it off, but I remember the outcome. Glitchlett. The technique for finding this guy followed the pattern of a lot of tedious Pokemon encounter bugs in Red and Blue. Talk to this dude, fly to this place. It might have something to do with Celandon. I'm not sure really. Glitchlet was as you'd expect. A glitched up Diglett. The sprite was mostly intact, but its face was distorted, Missing No style. There were a few distorted lines through it, like scan lines, and the cry was a little weird too. Although I can't put my finger on what it was. His level was never visible, but we guess it must have been over 100, as you could hardly put a mark on him while trying to catch him. Most of us resorted to our many cloned Master Balls. We nicknamed him Glitchlet, and that night we were eagerly trying to find out what this guy could do. The next day we all met up to compare our results. By this point we considered ourselves Pokemon glitch experts. Experiences with Glitchlet were varied. One guy claimed it messed up his whole game so bad that he couldn't even play anymore and he had to reset. Others said they tried to battle with Glitchlet, only to find the game crashed every time they tried. I had the most luck in battles with the new glitch Pokemon. His only move was Dig, and he couldn't learn any HMs or TMs, even those you'd expect a Diglett to be able to learn. Against wild Pokemon, Glitchlet was a powerhouse. He never lost PP, and together we KO'd every Pokemon we came across. But the attack itself was odd. It took 2 turns as usual, but after the first turn, he'd be hit by some kind of self-damaging recoil. There was no explanation other than Diglett was hurt. And that strange cry, but it never made much of a mark on him. Glitchlet's HP was higher than anything I'd ever seen, and because it only ever took 1 dig to destroy any wild Pokemon, it was never much of a problem. I laid waste to my friends' teams during linked battles, and he soloed the Elite Four. I remember when things got even stranger. I was leveling up a team with the XP all. Destroying wild Pokemon with Glitchlet seemed the most obvious choice. I maxed out many Pokemon this way in the past. I had woken up early that morning to level especially. I'd spent all day KOing wild Pokemon. At that moment, I was under my bed covers with my trusty Game Boy Color Light. Mum would go mad if she knew I wasn't asleep at this time. Everything was going according to plan, and my new team was leveling up beautifully. I must have been concentrating pretty hard because it was too late when I noticed how low Glitchlet's health had become. I selected Dig for the final time and watched him begin to ascend into the ground. As expected, I received the message. Diglett was hurt. I heard that piercing cry louder than ever before. My stomach turned as I watched his health bar slide towards 0. The bar doubled back on itself and it seemed to empty 4 or 5 times before Glitchlett repeated his dying cry. Now a horrible noise. Diglett was killed! Do you want to use the next Pokemon? I know it's cliche in these kind of stories, but I remembered that vividly. I selected no. My other team members wouldn't have made a mark on this enemy Pokemon anyway. I was warped into the overworld and found myself back in the unknown dungeon. Opening my Pokemon menu confirmed what I had seen before. My beloved Glitchlett at the top of the party, health reduced to 0. I selected him, I'm not sure what good that might have done, and I noticed something was different. Maybe it was there before, but I think I would have noticed that Dig was now a selectable move outside of battle. I thought for a moment maybe it was the atmosphere, but this move was suddenly chilling me. Glitchlett had never been damaged by any wild Pokemon, only this move. It wasn't even as though he'd hurt himself in confusion or with recoil. Whatever had hurt or ultimately killed him was underground all along, waiting, sapping Glitchlett's life each time he went to attack. His death cry echoed in my ears as I realized what I'd done. My thumb hovered over the A button, my brain willing myself to dig and get out of the cave. My stomach felt sick. What was down there anyway? I was stuck with no choice. The exit was too far away. My remaining Pokemon would be destroyed if I tried to get out there. With a lump in my throat, I dug, and my sprite began spinning into the earth and the screen went black. I wasn't surprised when I realized where I was. Not the entrance to the cave, or even the nearest Pokemon Center, but it was a glitched out cave that I now realize was some kind of bugged version of Diglett's cave. I checked my Pokemon and saw Glitchlett's health had been restored. He was now my only Pokemon though. The other 5 members of my team were missing entirely. I chose Dig again. Oak scolded me. Apparently this was not the time to use that. With no means of escape, I set up looking for the exit. My sprite moved slowly, more of a crawl than a walk. As I moved, the cave's walls bugged out, turning red, flexing and swelling in and out like the lungs of a monster. Slowly, music began to play, high-pitched, distorted, and horrible. It was quiet at first, but then grew louder with every step. As it played, something became familiar. A familiar tune beneath the whirring, bugged notes. Without thinking, I began to mouth the Diglett. Diglett dig, Diglett dig, trio, trio, trio. Then I encountered a Pokemon. A wild dog trio appeared. As distorted battle music began, the level 225 dog trio appeared before my eyes. The cry was awful. Warped scream that it seemed to become a gnash and crunch before stopped entirely. Dugtrio's sprite, like Glitchlett, was deformed. Dugtrio's 3 faces with hollow eyes twisted into pixelated howls that somehow painful. The bottom of the sprite was unrecognizable. It looked as though 6 deformed, crawled arms were rising out of the dirt in Dugtrio's body. My only Pokemon was released and Glitchlett's sprite appeared before me. His cry played again, quiet and seemingly a lot weaker than before. I was just a bystander now that the game took control, selecting an attack from the menu. Of course, Dig was my only option. My hands were sweaty as I gripped the Game Boy tight. My breath was hot on the screen. Dugtrio went first. Dugtrio used Scratch. It hit 6 times, each tear triggering a pitiful cry from my Glitch Pokemon. Glitchlett was left with a sliver of health as he retaliated with the attack of his own. Diglett used Struggle. It hardly made a mark as expected, but it was strange how Dig had never lost PP before. As previous, the game selected the next move. As attack was chosen, I noticed that Glitchlet suddenly had no moves. 2 words appeared where the first 2 attacks had been. No hope. Dugtrio's cry echoed again as it launched an assault of scratches with its deadly, horrible arms. Glitchlet was killed after the first strike. Diglett is dead. Do you want to continue? I didn't really understand the question, but that didn't matter. No was selected for me, and the battle faded away. Back on the overworld, walls swelled and glitched before my eyes, and maddening music began again. I inspected Glitchlet. His sprite had changed now. Although his face was never visible like Dugtrio's, it seemed to be formed into a pixelated scream. Dark brown streaks cut through the sprite. They looked like claw marks or blood. I pressed on. I don't know what I was thinking at that stage, just that this tiny Pokemon had infected my game in a much bigger way than expected. Glitch Pokemon seemed to be kind of wrong to me then, as though it was something I should not have been messing with. Something we didn't understand or couldn't control. With no Pokemon left, I was surprised to find out that I didn't black out or just warp to a Pokemon Center. The game just continued as usual. It was only a few steps before the Pokemon encounter theme played and the screen turned black. A wild Dugtrio appeared. This Pokemon sprite was different to the last. Almost completely disfigured, the cry seemed as though it wouldn't end, screaming and wailing as the pixelated monster appeared on the screen. Through the glitches and the cut pixels, I could make out the hollow sockets of 8 eyes. 8 terrible clawed hands and a gaping mouth. With no Pokemon left, my trainer's back sprite was faced the glitch head on. Before my eyes, the screen was faded as the Game Boy's batteries cut out. Whatever just happened gripped me with fear. That night I didn't sleep. I even took out the game out of the now dead Game Boy, although I was not sure what it would have done. Days later I started the game up. I had not saved during what had happened, so I was returned to my last save point. Glitchlet was the head of my party. Dig his only move. I thought for a moment before abandoning that game forever and starting anew. But I'll never forget how it all started and how it all happened. Like something out of a horror movie that keeps repeating and repeating over and over whenever I saw that glitch head on. But everybody has to move on, and I can't seem to forget the whole thing like it never happened. Like digging into my skin and controlling my actions. But it's all in my head. I know I must have been hallucinating this whole thing. But when I see that cartridge, all the horrors I fear were still in there, waiting for it to come out and scare me forever in my head for eternity to come.